the weekly show with David J. Maloney.
This week, David chats with legendary Tesla guitarist Frank Hannon.
And now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome, everyone, to the weekly show. I'm your host, David J. Maloney. On tonight's show, we've got the next part of my interview with legendary guitarist Frank Hannon. Frank is a true rock craftsman whose music has been the soundtrack to arenas, highways, and late nights for almost 4 decades. As the co-founder and lead guitarist of the band Tesla, Frank helped shape a sound that stood apart from the flash of the era. It was a sound rooted in honesty, grit, and timeless songs which still connect across generations. Beyond the hits and tours, he's an artist always searching for new expressions of his soul through his music. And now, with his new solo project, Reflections, he's opening a fresh new chapter. One that's maybe unlike anything we've heard from him before. Here to chat more about it all when we come back from the break is none other than legendary guitarist Frank Hannon. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. So you've been with Tesla most of your life. What does stepping into a solo project allow you to express that maybe the band format doesn't?
Well, and every guitarist and every artist will tell you when they do solo projects or albums, it's because they want to experiment with different things that they can't do in the group setting. You know, in a group setting, there's something to be said for the teamwork and the effort and the compromises that you're making to create something as a group. When you're by yourself, you don't have any limits or restrictions to what you're doing. You can just do whatever you want to do. And so it gives you more of a little bit of a freedom. Now, there's qualities for both environments. When you're by yourself and you have freedom to explore and do all that, there's some good stuff that come out of that. But there's something to be said about collaborating too and working as a team. So those are the two differences between being in a band and co-writing with the group and experimenting and doing stuff as a solo artist.
You've got a brand new album, Reflections, hitting the store shelves. Is there a specific spark or event that made you go, okay, it's time to make this album?
Well, unbeknownst to me at the time, I wasn't planning on making an album or anything. I was just doing what I explained to you and described a minute ago. I was just playing my guitar, and I was feeling a lot of feelings from the previous year of turmoil that we went through, and loss and grief and pain. We went through a really difficult year last year, 2024, and it came to a head with some hurricanes in Florida that we were living out there, and we had just lost my wife's dad, and we had gone through a lot of hard times there, and the hurricanes forced us to evacuate. So I've told this story a bunch, so I won't get on to it too much because I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but it was a tough time. And I came home and just started playing my guitar and recording my ideas on my cell phone. And I was playing these ideas for my wife, and she could feel it. I was playing it for some of my friends, and they could feel my guitar playing had gone into another dimension of expressing emotion using the guitar as a lead voice. And so I started getting the idea of experimenting with, instead of trying to write a song for a singer to sing, I wanted to write music for my guitar to sing. So I started coming up with more of a emotional phrases of how I was playing, like real simple stuff like and that was really feeling more, communicating how I was feeling. And I was playing it for some people and they were feeling it. So my wife was very supportive, and my friends were saying, man, you should make a record like that. And so I ended up gathering all these ideas on my cell phone and sending them to my friends in Nashville who owned a studio called East Iris that manufactures vinyl. So I took my cell phone and my tracks and went and made this record from a cell phone to vinyl. But originally, before it even got to the cell phone, it was really from my heart and from my guitar. That's the whole way it came together. And I was not planning it. It just happened. And as an artist, it's very rewarding to me that I created something that's so genuine like that, you know?
Do you feel somehow, as an artist, more vulnerable releasing music under your own name as a solo artist than you do with all of the foundation built up behind Tesla?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you're definitely more vulnerable, especially playing live, because I do these songs live by myself. Even as a solo artist outside of Tesla in the past, I've had a band, I've had a trio, I've had a drummer, I've had singers, I've had other musicians. But nowadays, I'm just doing it by myself, and yeah, you feel very vulnerable. But what offsets that vulnerability is if you really feel and believe and have conviction in what you're doing and wholeheartedly, then that gets rid of the vulnerability and exchanges it for confidence in, I'm okay being vulnerable. You know what? Because take it or leave it, this is what you're going to get.
Well, you're known for both your electric and acoustic skills. How do you approach songwriting differently depending upon the guitar in your hands? Or is the approach the same way either way?
Songwriting, when you say approach, coming up with a song, usually I'm not approaching it and like going, okay, I'm going to write this on acoustics. Usually 9 times out of 10, it's by accident. I'll just be sitting on the couch, just strumming an acoustic, just having some fun. And then I'll stumble on something that is reflecting how I'm feeling at the moment. And it makes my ears perk up and go, oh yeah, okay. And then I'll turn on my voice memo on my cell phone and record it and then listen back to it and go, yeah, I like this. Okay, I'm going to pursue this. A lot of times with acoustic guitar, I will use it as a texture to add on top of an electric guitar. So let's say, for example, I'm doing some power chords on the electric guitar, like a... What I'll do with an acoustic then is I'll overdub a... on top of it. So the acoustic, you're picking the notes. The electric guitar, you're playing a power chord, and you put the two together, and it creates a feeling of fullness, you know. That's really what came from learning how to record on a little Fostex cassette tape 4-track machine when I was a teenager. And that's what I would recommend to any musician is record yourself and try to experiment with layering and overdubbing and recording. I mean, and then you learn so much because you end up learning how to listen to what you're doing.
You know, I was going to ask, when you sit down to write, do you start with a melody, lyric, or vibe? But it seems more vibe, right?
Definitely more vibe, yeah. And that vibe would translate into the music. And then with Tesla, I would hand that music with that vibe to Jeff, our singer, and he would listen to it and he would feel the vibe, and then he would interpret the vibe and create his own words to put on top of that. That's how Tesla would write songs. For me as a songwriter with lyrics, sometimes I might stumble on a lyric without any music by myself. Like I was thinking about Southern rock music one time. I was thinking about, we had just gotten off tour with Leonard Skinner, and I was out doing some mundane work. I was stacking some firewood or something, and I was just kind of hearing these words in my head, sweet, sweet Southern sound, won't you come back around? And then I was thinking, all right, I've got the lyrics, because usually lyrics come last, but when they come first once in a while, boy, that's a gift, and you got to jump on that and write those down in a hurry.
Did working on Reflections reconnect you with any influences that you hadn't really explored in years?
Carlos Santana, when he plays the guitar, like on Samba Pati or Oye Como Va, it could be a singer. Like when he's doing this, that to me sounds like da, na, na, na. He's singing a melody that a singer would do. So, when I'm hearing him do this, It's like I can hear a singer singing that same line. And so that was the approach of what I wanted to do for the first time in my career as a guitarist, was using the guitar like a voice. And so on my Reflections album, there's a song called Walk in the Rain, and it's like a voice. It goes every little phrase is like asking a question, like this. Like, hello, how are you? I'm doing fine. That's good to hear. You know, it's like communicating with a melodic approach on the guitar. That was my goal that I wanted to do on this record.
Do you still chase inspiration from new music, or do you find yourself circling back to your roots more often?
That's what's really cool about like Spotify and things like that is it'll recommend things to you. So like you can be listening to your favorite artist, and then that record plays out, and then all of a sudden some new artists come on there that it's recommending that you hadn't heard before. And wow, and I've discovered so many new artists and musicians and music that way. Like there's a band called Krungbin. I had never heard of them before until they popped up on my recommended playlist, and I love them now. I'm really inspired by them. And then when that playlist runs out, Hermanos Guitares came on, and it's like, ooh, I like this sound. And then sometimes you'll hear something you don't like and you scroll through it, but that's what I really do like about the digital streaming world is, you know, you do get recommended some new stuff that you would never have known before.
Has teaching or mentoring or jamming with younger musicians given you kind of any new, fresh perspective on your craft?
Yeah, I've had some fun producing younger artists over the years. I used to spend a lot of time since the beginning. Like I had mentioned before, I had a 4-track when I was young. So I would always use that 4-track for my friends' bands in town too, you know. Even back when I was 17, 18 years old, if I had friends that had bands in my neighborhood, I was the guy that wanted to record them. So they would come over my house, we'd set up in the garage, and I would make demo tapes for them using my little 4-track. And that carried on all the way just until recently. I produced a lot of different local artists in town, and one of them in particular is a kid named JT Lux, and he moved to Nashville, and he's doing really great. He got signed by Yellow Wolf, and finally, after all the hundreds of friends and kids that I worked with, one of them really deserved it and got a break, and he's doing great for himself. JT Lux, check him out.
That's cool. You mentioned Goosebumps earlier. Is there a riff or a lick you've written that you still get goosebumps playing today?
A riff that I've written?
Yeah.
Well, going back to the song I played a little bit earlier, it's called What You Give. And it's such a simple little guitar thing. And what I do live is I'll wait a little bit and I'll let the audience calm down. So it's real quiet. And then I'll just play the one note. As soon as I just play the one note, they know it, and they start cheering because they recognize just the one note. I don't even have to do this yet. I just go. And that gives me goosebumps every time.
It's like the first note of Betty and the Jets, right? That first note, you hear bump, and everybody goes, they know it's coming.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's a goosebump song right there. That note. Bump.
Is there a song, whether it be one of yours, Tesla's, or even a cover of somebody else's, that gives you the most joy to play, even if just in the privacy of in a quiet moment by yourself?
Well, I love playing some of my father-in-law's music. You know, and my backing tracks, I do a cover of Blue Sky by the Allman Brothers. And I love the just has such a happy feel to it. So I love playing Blue Sky. I love playing a lot of my father-in-law stuff. I'm so grateful I got to spend 25 years married to his daughter, and she and I are very close, and we were very close with him, and we got to spend the last 3 years of his life with him, and I'm very grateful for that, and I learned a lot by listening to him talk and tell stories, and so I really enjoy playing some of his guitar riffs. It always makes me think of him, especially this one. Tell me if you remember this one.
Yep, good old rambling man.
It just feels good.
Mm-hmm.
He just wrote the feel-good melodies on guitar.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, and it's going to lead up to a subsequent question about our Father's love. What role does spirituality or philosophy play in your songwriting at this stage in your life?
Well, keeping an attitude of gratitude and letting go and forgiveness and a lot of those things play a huge role in my life in different ways and are playing a role in my music. Spirituality can be so broad and have so many different things that we could talk about. But just briefly, a lot of it is being grateful and being patient. And lately, I've been learning to be patient with the way I play guitar, and I don't take it for granted. I feel very grateful that I discovered guitar at 10 years old, and it has carried me through my life. So that spiritual attitude of gratitude carrying into my music and not taking that for granted or anything for granted. And realizing that there is a much higher power, that a creator that has been good to me in my life, and not taking that for granted either, and not trying to control everything, letting go and having peace with that. And you have to go through some really hard times and surrender during those hard times to get to those points. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, the reason why I asked is I watched the music video for Our Father's Love, and I think many people might catch the reference or assume the reference in the title, but you make it explicit in the music video, quoting the Bible verse at the beginning of the video. I'd love to hear the story behind that whole song and concept.
Well, there's multiple facets to that song and that concept. The song was written, I guess it might have been in February. I'm trying to think. It might have been Valentine's Day time frame. I'm not sure. Anyways, I was playing this melody. And that melody was speaking to me of just like, again, being grateful. And we had gone outside, my wife and I had gone outside, and we looked up and we saw this shining star, which we're thinking is, the evening star. It was about probably 10 at night. It was this bright star. And we started thinking about her dad. And then we started thinking about, God and God being a creator and getting us through, being grateful that we had gotten through some difficult times. So I just put all that together, and to me, that just fit the sound of this melody. It was just speaking to me that way. And when it came time to wanting to make a music video for it, I was watching this program. It was a broadcast of a Christian church channel, and they were speaking on that verse in Psalms about I will look to the mountains for my creator. And I love the mountains, and I grew up in the mountains, and I've always found peace in this one particular area that's about 30 miles from my home here. I just love that area. And the light bulb came on when I was reading that scripture and thinking about this song that I had already called Our Father's Love. And then the scripture said, I'll look to the hills, and who do I turn to for help is the creator. it all just came to me. Well, gosh, let's go up to the hills and make a video. And that's what I did. Yeah. And I'm glad you noticed that and recognized that.
So, new fans, they might listen to this, through the lens of your band career. What do you hope they hear in this that kind of surprises them?
Most of the people that are Tesla fans have figured out by now that I do play guitar from the heart as much as possible when it comes to songwriting with Jeff, and Jeff writes his lyrics from the heart. So they're not really surprised, but they have been reacting in a way of they haven't heard me play this much and expose my on my sleeve, wearing my heart out there on the guitar as much as I did on this record. And so it seems to me the reaction I've been getting from the diehard Tesla fans is that they've been enjoying the genuineness of it, the realness of it.
Was there a song that was harder than the rest on this album to write, either technically or emotionally?
No, not really. The whole thing just flowed. Every day I was coming up with a new piece of music that was just flowing out, and I would record it on my cell phone, and then I listened back to it, and then I would use this microphone called Audigo that was attached to my cell phone, which had a great sound quality. And I just started using that, and there was nothing very difficult. The process was very easy, and it's because I wasn't really trying to do it. I was just doing it and not thinking about it, and it came together pretty easily.
What still, excites you the most on picking up your guitar after all these years?
What excites me the most is being able to still learn something new. It's a never-ending mystery. Les Paul even said, he's the inventor of the electric guitar for Gibson. Everyone knows who Les Paul is. He even said that you will never figure out all the mysteries. And there's 6 strings and there's 22 frets, and so you'd think there would be a limitless combination, but there really isn't any limits to the combinations. And I'm always stumbling on new things, whether it's chords like this chord here, and then I'll stumble by accident that if you slide it down just one little fret, it sounds great. So there's just little things that you stumble on that I didn't know existed. Like I just stumbled on this the other day. Wait. Just some little thing you'll just stumble on. And I've been playing guitar for 50 years and I'm still stumbling on these little things by accident.
Frank, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me. I hope I didn't ramble on and talk too much there.
No, our time is actually spot on. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Hannon. That is our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to Frank Hannon of the band Tesla for joining us once again. Stay safe, everyone.